Okay, thank you, sir. Again, going forward to January of 2013, case 10CR05797. In January of 2013, you were charged in a criminal case in Cook County, correct? Yes, sir. And you were charged with an offense called attempt murder, correct? Among other charges? Yes, sir. The case that I just described, 10CR05797, was pending in the Cook County Criminal Courts, correct? Yes, sir. It had been pending for a while, isn't that true? Yes, sir. And you had a co-defendant, correct? Yes, sir. What was his name? Dwayne Hill. Judge, I'm showing Government's Exhibit 151. If it hasn't been entered into evidence, I'd ask that it be admitted. I don't believe there's an objection. 151's already in evidence. Thank you, Judge. Do you recognize the individual in this photograph? Yes, sir. Who is that? Dwayne Hill. Did he have a nickname? Yes, sir. What was that? Wheezy. That's Government's 151. He was your co-defendant on this case? Yes, sir. Did the trial in this case, was it a bench trial or a jury trial? Bench trial, sir. And the trial occurred in January of 2013? Yes, sir. Was that the trial at the Cook County Criminal Courts building at 26th and California? Yes, sir. And again, that's a state case, not a federal case, correct? Yes, sir. Was there a victim in this case? Yes, sir. And what was the victim's name? Demetrius Harris. I'm going to show you Government's Exhibit 117. Do you recognize the individual in that photograph? Yes, sir. Who is that? Demetrius. Does he have a nickname? Michi. How do you know him? Through the neighborhood, but I have a son by his sister. Were you and Wheezy, who you identified, or Dwayne Hill in Government's Exhibit 151, were you alleged in that case to have shot Michi? Yes, sir. Did you shoot Michi? No, sir. Now, this trial, were you concerned about being convicted at this trial? Not really. There's nothing to... Well, let me ask that question a little bit different. When you were charged with the case in or around, I think, late 2009 or early 2010, were you concerned because you had been charged with attempt murder? Yes, sir. It was concerning, correct? Yes, sir. But at some point before the trial actually occurred and at some point after, you were charged, but before the trial occurred, did Michi submit anything? Yes, sir. And what did Mr. Michi submit? Affidavits to my lawyer months before trial. And these affidavits, in summary, what did they indicate? That I wasn't involved. Did they also indicate that your co-defendant was also not involved? Yes, sir. So you're going into a trial where one of the main witnesses, Michi, has already submitted affidavits saying that both you and your co-defendant, Dwayne Hill, did not do what you were accused of doing, correct? Yes, sir. That first day of trial, who did you go to the trial with? Me, my mom, and my girlfriend. And to be clear, you were on bond at that time, correct? Yes, sir. So did you enter the courtroom with your mom and your girlfriend, correct? Yes, sir. And was Wheezy with anyone? Yes, he was with his girlfriend. And Michi, was he there as well? Yes, sir. And he was not in custody as well. So nobody's in custody at this time? No, sir. Who else was at the trial when you walked in on that first day, if you remember? No one besides us that had to be there. But there were other people. Were there other people in the gallery? Not the first day. Did witnesses testify on the first day at trial? No. Michi testified the first day on trial, and then I think the police officer did. And did did Demetrius Harris, who you called Michi, did his testimony concern about whether you or Wheezy had shot him? Yes, sir. Without getting into Mr. Harris's testimony, after Mr. Harris testified, did court shortly thereafter adjourn for the day? Yes, sir. And did you speak to anyone later that night? Yes, sir. Who did you speak to? Michi. He called me. And what did you say? He called me and said I should be good the next day. Was there a second day of trial? Yes, sir. Who went with you to that? My mom and my girlfriend. And to be clear, this trial, it's in a courtroom, correct? Yes, sir. Was it kind of like this courtroom? Yes, sir. A little bit smaller? No. About the same size? Yes, sir. And there were benches on each side when you walked in? Yes, sir. So now you come in the second day at trial, and you're with your mom and your girlfriend at the time? Yes, sir. And what was her name? Did you enter the building 26th in California? Yes, sir. Did you see anyone when you entered the building? No, sir. Did you eventually go to the courtroom? Yes, sir. After you process in the building, you catch the elevator upstairs. So when you process in the building, do you have to go through some court security for a minute? Yes, sir. And when you go through court security, what do you got to do? Take your belt off, little things like that. Do you remember taking your belt off that day? Yes, sir. Did you make it through court security that morning? This is the second day of trial. Yes, sir. Did you eventually work your way up to the courtroom? Yes, sir. And the courtroom wasn't on the first floor, right? No, sir. Did you have to take an elevator up? Yes, sir. Did you get off the elevator? Yes, sir. You get off the elevator, what happens? I see Demetrius Harris' mom and Labar Spann and Todd Urban talking, and as I'm putting on my belt, he gets to going off in a rant. Okay, let's stop for 1 second. You just got off the elevator, and I should have asked you this before. At your trial, were you represented by a defense attorney? Uh-huh. What was his name? Todd Urban. You have now gone through court security on the second day. You took your belt off. You're running to court with your mom, your girlfriend. You take the elevator up. The elevator opens. Are you still putting your belt on at that time? Yes. Or back on, should I say. And now, who do you see before you go into the courtroom? Labar Spann and the lawyer and Demetrius Harris' mom. Were there a lot of other people out there? Yes, sir. So was the hallway before you entered the courtroom a little bit more crowded than the day before? They like 25, 30 deep. 25 to 30 people there? Yes, sir. And one of them was Mr. Spann? Yes, sir. What were some of the other people that were there, if you remember? Big Schaefer, Schwabo, Labar, Smiley. A lot of guys, I don't know their name. I just know their face. But you witnessed Mr. Spann talking to your attorney, Todd Urban. Yes, sir. And as soon as you got off the elevator, did Mr. Spann come up to you? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, they was pushing him up towards the way I was walking while me and my mom's getting off the elevator, and he made a comment about the belt. We don't buy Gucci, we buy guns. We don't. I thought it was a joke or something at first. Then he said I was going to jail today. Okay, let me hear that one more time. He said what? Could you clearly for the court reporter? I was putting on my belt. The belt buckle was kind of heavy, so it hangs. So he seen the Gucci belt buckle, and he said, we don't buy Gucci, we buy guns. Mr. Spann said this? Yes, sir. And then what did he say? I'm going to jail today. Mr. Spann told you? Question. Mr. Spann told you you were going to jail today? Yes, sir. Did you enter the courtroom? Yes, sir. As you were entering the courtroom, was anybody saying anything to you as you were walking in? Yeah. Were you walking through a stream of a lot of people? Yes, sir. How did you feel at that time? Well, I had my mom and my girl with me there, so I didn't want nothing to happen to my mom or her, so I just felt helpless, really. Did you enter the courtroom? Yes, sir. Was the courtroom busier? The courtroom hadn't even started yet, but when we came in, everyone came in behind us. So did the courtroom pack up? Yes, sir. Did Mr. Spann come in the courtroom? Yeah, he came in behind us. Was anyone saying anything to your family? Yeah, some. Labar Spann said he'll smack, but some big Puerto Rican guy jumped up, and he was saying he been wanting to fight me or he been wanting me. You don't even know me. But as that was going on, the people that was in the courtroom put everyone out. They kicked everyone out? Yes, sir. Has the second day of trial even begun yet? No, sir. Did Mr. Spann say anything to your lawyer? Yes, sir. And who was your lawyer again? Todd Urban. What did you hear Mr. Spann say to Mr. Urban? Harris is going to change his testimony if we don't get 20,000 up there. Did witnesses testify in the second day of trial? Demetrius actually got back on the stand somehow. So Mr. Harris got back on the stand? Yes, sir. Let me show you a picture, too, if I may. Government's Exhibit 141. Do you recognize that guy? Yes, sir. Who's that? That's Rio. Who's Rio? A guy from the west side. Gang member? Nah. You know him? Yeah, I seen him around. Is he known by a lot of people? Yes, sir. Was he there on the second day as well? Yeah, I think Dwayne called him after the commotion with Labar. And this would have been at your trial, right? Yes, sir. So you were saying that Michi, Demetrius Harris, ended up testifying again on the second day, correct? Yes, sir. I don't want you to get into what Mr. Harris said, but when either during or after the time Mr. Harris was testifying, What, if anything, happened in the courtroom? He jumped. Did Harris do anything in the courtroom? Yes, he jumped up and said he's not scared of someone. And either during or after the time Mr. Harris was testifying on the second day of your trial, was there more commotion in the courtroom? Yes, sir. Can you describe it? We didn't know who he was talking to until later on, but when he jumped up, I guess all the guys that came with Labar that was sitting down in the courtroom, they was just staring and seeing what was going on, and I guess he thought, I don't want you... All right, excuse me. I don't want you to guess. Uh-huh. I'm just asking what you observed and not what you didn't observe. Just tell us what, if anything, you observed or what you heard. Well, I seen Demetrius Harris jump up, and he say he's not scared of no one, and he was looking all over at Labar Spann people. And at that point, was there a lot of commotion in the courtroom? Yes, sir, and Labar Spann started talking. He told my lawyer, his lawyer too. My lawyer was asking the judge. Let me ask you that question. Stop for 1 second. Mr. Harris has testified at some point now the second time. You said that Mr. Spann said something to your lawyer again? Yes, sir. And what, in summary, or what did he say, Mr. Spann? That he was his lawyer. Judge, I'm going to object and ask for a sidebar on this. All right.